Thank you so much for tuning in to my new YouTube channel, Elwood Panther Sports History with Greg Mengelt. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, and the first episode is a special one. My father, Dr. Tom Mengelt, a very special opportunity for me to get to tell my father's story a little bit. This is the first of what I hope is many episodes. I'm going to do it every few weeks and try to get the entire biography. Coming up later this week, I'm going to have the history of Elwood football season openers, and it's just the beginning.
All right, hopefully the first of many in my new biography podcast. Dr. Tom Mengelt here to talk about growing up in Elwood, Indiana, and what it was like in Elwood as a kid growing up and as an athlete, starting with being a kid. And you were born in La Crosse, Wisconsin, but Elwood's all you really knew.
Correct.
Tell me about growing up in Elwood. What was that like?
Well, I can't remember much of my early life except the time that I fell off the back of a chair and got a cut on my scalp and had to have stitches, which I remember was not very much fun.
That's your first memory?
Yeah, Dr. Beekler did it in his office, which was interesting, yes. So we were Catholic, so we went to St. Joseph's Catholic School, first grade through eighth grade. And
what years we talking? What year were you born?
I was born in 1946, so it would have been 1953 through 1961. Yes. 61 is when I started in high school. So most of my early friendships were from my association with the kids at St. Joseph's.
People like Rich Level, who you're still
Rich Level
friends
was
with to this day.
The grade behind me. Dick Miller and George Stevens and just a myriad of others that we played sports with and bedeviled the nuns.
Can't wait to hear those stories.
Yeah, it's a lot of them been told over and over again, but
that's what we're here to do. We're here to record that for posterity now.
Yeah,
bedeviled the nuns. I love that. You moved here because Ralph, your dad, was an owner of A&W Root Beer.
Correct.
And got a franchise here.
Correct. He moved in 1949. My mother was pregnant with my brother John. She went back to La Crosse to deliver the baby and then moved to Elwood permanently.
So John was born in La Crosse, but...
That's correct.
But his first days were lived in Elwood.
Correct.
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah.
So everybody listening, I know about 5 stories from my father's childhood. I'm almost as ignorant as a lot of you on some of these stories. He is just someone who doesn't talk about himself, and that's okay, but he's agreed to do this, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully 25 parts series here of talking to him, because I want to get the whole biography at some point. But today we're just going to start with growing up in Elwood and your childhood and some things like that.
Went to kindergarten, not in Catholic school. There was a school that I believe was called Oakland, an older school, and Eve Ward was the teacher. And it was just a basic kindergarten. I don't remember much about that, except the time that I knocked over a gallon jar full of pennies and broke it on the street. And I can't believe my father didn't get real angry. I was getting out of the car. He used to take us to school. I don't remember much of the early years in Catholic school. I do know that we had a great playground time between mid-morning and mid-afternoon, and the nuns played baseball with us and also played basketball with us. That was a fond memory. We really didn't start getting into trouble till I was in the 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah, I think that's pretty typical.
Yes. And we had a nun, Sister Dolores, who was Irish.
Hey, by the way, I've heard about 5 stories from his childhood, but I've heard the name Sister Dolores a lot.
Yeah. She was very influential in my growing up and ultimately in my concentration on my studies. But there were several things that were sort of hanky-panky that went on by us. By the way, Rich Level was in every one of them.
Of course.
And when I was in the 8th grade, we decided to explore the church belfries. And that was very interesting. We had to climb up a rickety old ladder. And
this is the current Catholic Church, the one at St. Joe.
Right, same one. There were wild animals in there like owls, barn owls. In one instance, there was a barn owl with about 5 chicks, and they just didn't like us there. Wow. They hissed and were obviously very angry with us there. But there was the time that we saw an owl on a piece of lumber upon which the ladder rested. And we decided that to be in a club, you needed to go touch under the owl and
touch the piece of wood.
Yes. Okay. And so the first 2 of us touched underneath the owl, and the third one, who was, I think, Charles Capper, fell down, made a noise. The owl woke up, screamed, and crapped all over us. And I mean, all over my clothes, all over people's heads. And we obviously scrambled down. I hid in the bathroom, and Sister Dolores couldn't make me get out.
Wow.
I went home and told my mother it was a pigeon, and she said, "I don't believe that. That had to have been a huge pigeon." But nothing more was said after that.
But what a story.
Sister Dolores.
So who all was there?
Huh?
Who all was there? Who all got crapped on?
Well, I can't remember. I think Dick Miller was there, and Rich Level got some on his tongue.
Oh.
Yeah. And the Cappers, obviously, but it was quite an experience. We also climbed over the dome, and that was interesting.
Wow. Yeah. So your children came by the climbing thing, honestly.
Yes, they did. Yes. Sister Dolores was quite a disciplinarian, and she would say things like, "Mengelt, you're nothing but a big 0. Mengelt, get into the library. I'm going to warm your legs."
Spreading God's love.
Yeah. One day I was in the 8th grade, got up to talk to Tom Singer, who had ridden his bicycle from Frankton, and she asked me to get down, and I didn't. And so she said, "Mengelt, come back, and don't come back for 3 days. Go home. Don't come back for 3 days." And I went home. She never told my parents.
So what'd you do?
It changed my life.
Tell me about that.
And I became a very good student after that, and remained a good student through high school and college.
Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe to the channel, share this podcast, and help us grow. Appreciate it.
So turns out you in high school play baseball, basketball, football, and track.
Correct.
In college, it was football, but St. Joseph didn't even have football at the time, right? So you never played till high school.
No, I played in the 8th grade. We had a team, and Joe Morris coached us, as he coached all the sports there, particularly basketball. But there were 12 of us that went out.
On a football team?
On the football team.
Oh, wow.
And we had one game which was against Elwood Junior High, and we tied. And that was a pretty big victory.
I would imagine so.
Yes. Yeah.
How many students were there typically at St. Joe?
There were probably 20 in a classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a huge victory.
Yeah, it was. It was felt to be a big victory. I don't think they had any football after that.
You think you're the very last ones?
Yes.
When doing my research, I saw a story that they discontinued it, but that was before you.
Yes, that was
so they
before me.
discontinued it and then came back.
And I didn't realize they had a football program when I was in grade school. I had no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dug up a lot of fun stuff on doing my research. The call leader back when you were growing up was very good.
Yeah.
Had a lot of good sports editors at the time. So since this is our first podcast, I want to mention I grew up in the call leader. They were my first job. Ed Hamilton was my mentor, but really good history of some good sports editors that you're familiar with, that I grew up with, and Paul Harbaugh, longtime sports editor. And then when you were growing up, Clarence Young and
Gene Conard,
who was your Little League coach, right?
He coached, Had Groover was the Little League coach. Gene Conard coached me in Pony League, which was 13 and 14-year-olds. And but he coached a lot of people. Good sports writer.
And someone you really considered a mentor.
Yes, in a way. He was indeed, yes.
Yeah. I heard a lot of stories about him as well. And not only just from you, a lot of other people as well around town who absolutely loved him.
Oh, yes.
And I did get to meet him one time. So that was very nice. So, yeah.
Yeah. I went to a get-together before he passed and went to his funeral, obviously, where Rich gave the talk during the funeral.
That's right.
Yeah, which was very appropriate.
And Dean Worsley, when I was in Little League, was the sports editor there. And just going back and doing this research, the call leader had a long tradition of really good sports.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well, sports was very important.
Oh, man.
In Elwood, particularly high school sports.
40s through the 60s, so much success.
Yes, yes.
And success, as we'll talk about here in a minute, against bigger towns and bigger schools. And really, you guys were playing up all the time. You never played a school smaller than you in anything, almost. Football.
Yes, Alexandria and Tipton were smaller, but we played to the north, Peru, Wabash, Warsaw, and then Hartford City, and they were all a little bit bigger.
And Huntington,
yes.
Anderson, Madison Heights.
Well, yeah, but they weren't in the conference.
I know. I'm just talking about your schedule, though.
Yeah. We played North Central,
right?
Noblesville, Kokomo, Marion, and Marion was the site of the infamous 45-yard penalty.
Tell me about that.
Yes. Our assistant coach got 2 15-yard penalties in succession. And so it was 1st and 55.
Nice.
I don't remember if we won or lost those games, to be honest with you, but.
Well, I have some stories for you that you'll be able to go through for our next, for the next time that we get together in a couple of weeks to talk about some more things. But let's go back to your childhood. At what point did you know that you love sports? What point did you know you were a good athlete?
Well, I didn't know about the good athlete part, to be honest with you, but sports was in the family. My father played in a small school in Wisconsin, Bangor, basketball. He got a basketball scholarship to the University of Wisconsin. He went 2 years and said he dropped out to play baseball. And right before the war, he was to have the summer after December 7th, when the war began, he was to have played for the Minneapolis Millers, which was a AAA team. Anyway, he enlisted in the Army before that, and his sports career was over then.
But he was a sports dad.
He was very much a sports dad. He played baseball with us, football with us, basketball. We had a basketball court, like a lot of young kids at that age. And it's where my brother spent literally hours shooting, playing like he was in games, cheering like the crowd. It was pretty amazing. But when it came time for Little League, my first year was in the minor leagues, and then worked up to play for Empty Machine. Yeah.
And I also didn't know, doing the research, he was very demanding academically as well.
It didn't do any good for him for the first 7 years.
Maybe it was after, maybe it was when John came around.
Yeah, maybe it was.
When it was the two of you.
But he was a smart guy. My mother was smart and a college graduate. So they had expectations.
And you mentioned John. I read a book that had a segment on John that you shared with me that said the reason he became what he became, 10 years in the NBA, All-American at Auburn, was because you let him tag along with you and he got to play with the older kids as he was growing up.
He did. Yeah. Yes, he did indeed. But you have to understand that he had a lot of talent, even as a child, and it was very recognizable.
Yeah, you could tell looking at the newspapers from the time he was your teammate on IMCA.
Yes, right.
He was even very good, competitive with the older kids.
Yeah, he pitched. Yeah, as a 9-year-old.
Probably could have pitched as long as he wanted to.
That's
and played football as well. Very good football player as well. And we'll talk more about John at some point. John will be the subject of a lot of these stories, I'm sure. Not just from you, from a lot of people, because he was a big deal in this town.
Yes, he was.
Well, let's talk about you. And you get to high school. Who are some of the kids now that are your teammates who were your competitors in the one game against Elwood? And you get there as a freshman. Who are some of the kids in your class who are some of the other athletes, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, my. You're asking me to recall names, and that's difficult sometimes.
I understand.
Of course, there was Tink Frazier, who was the brother of Kit Frazier, who was a good athlete. There was Ron Drake and, of course, Rich Level and Dick Greenfield, who was a very good athlete and became one of my all-time sports heroes. Leroy Stenson. There were just a lot of them. Yeah.
And my first best friend growing up was Eric Robinson, Eric and Ryan. Eric was in my kindergarten class, and I know he was a little behind you.
A year behind me, yes.
And he's an all-time Elwood great for sure.
No, there are just so many really good athletes from those classes, and you would think that we would have had very successful sports teams.
And did in classes around you. And honestly, your football teams were very good. If you played the schedule that Elwood played in successive years, you would have been 8-2. Yeah, I mean, just a few years later.
Yeah, well, I think my senior year we should have been 9-1.
And you beat Anderson, which was a very big deal.
Yes.
I'm going to do a podcast just on that game at some point.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Because it sounds like it was amazing.
You'll have to get some of the other players from that time, because I don't remember a lot of those.
Well, I have some stuff for you that will help jog your memory.
Okay.
I think you'll enjoy reading through it. Again, a very special thank you to my father for allowing me to do this again. Pretty private guy, doesn't like talking about himself too much, and I appreciate him taking the time to do this, and I'm looking forward to the next one and talking to the rest of the family. Didn't really realize that you were a good athlete. At some point, you had to have realized that by playing varsity sports, and there are hundreds of kids in the school. You're the guy getting the football.
I guess so.
At what point do you remember thinking? Because I remember at a point in my life in 8th grade thinking, "Oh, I think I'm pretty good at sports." Never happened to you?
No, I don't know about that. I did know that I thought I was good enough to play football in college. And I remember telling Ron Drake that I wanted to play football in college, and he said, "You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy." But anyway, I did go ahead and do that. I was fortunate enough to do that and get a good education at the same time.
I assume, like me, when you were a child in Elwood, you just kind of roamed free and found a game somewhere, and that's kind of how Elwood was at the time.
Right. We were what they call free-range children. We walked to school. We were out on our bikes frequently, usually with friends, but a lot of times by myself. We would pass the word about a pickup game of something, usually football, touch football, and baseball in the field just half block from where we lived.
Okay, so over on
14th Street.
14th Street.
L and 14th Street.
L and 14th.
Yeah. And that was baseball, and football generally was across, there was a field across from where I lived, and that was the football field. We had a good time. Basketball depends, either our place or Lou Gehrig's. He had a cement court, which was really nice.
Lou Gehrig, the former press secretary, great guy.
Yeah, don't you remember when we toured the
I do.
West Wing of
The Oval Office.
Yeah, and the Oval Office and the jelly beans, and
met his son at a Colts game once.
I think he's still working in Indianapolis. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's very similar to my childhood in Elwood.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like that anymore.
No,
unfortunately.
well, it's not. And which is sort of a shame because kids spend too much time on their devices. Yeah.
And parents don't let kids out of their sight.
Kids don't have the free range capabilities anymore.
Yeah. It was a great way to grow up, though.
It was a good way to grow up. And I would, if I were a parent today, I'd do the same thing.
We usually met at Eric and Ryan's house, Lyle's at Continental Can in the field there. And there was a fence for a home run.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, the girls played with us.
Yeah, Mary Pat says that's how she became.
Oh, Mary, yeah, Mary. But even before then,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Before there was Title IX that said that what you spent on males, you had to spend on females in athletics.
One of the best things our government's ever done.
By far.
Yeah.
One of the best things.
Our government doesn't do a lot right. It nailed it on that one.
But keeping kids fit, and you do that through sports.
Going back and looking at some of this research, Elwood did have girls' teams early on. And the fact they had a girls' basketball team in the 1910s.
Yeah.
So, which is interesting. And they were good.
Girls Athletic Association.
That is correct.
Yes.
Very nice. And we had a girls' bowling team and volleyball going back to the 40s. And then the first ever girls' basketball team official under the IHSA won the sectional with your sister, Mary Pat.
And Christy.
That's right.
Christy McClellan.
Your brother Mike's wife, Christy,
right.
who is
an
amazing part of the family. The best part of the family, probably. And growing up, though, you had 4 brothers and a sister. It was really just John that you grew up with, right? Because of the difference in age.
I think Steve is 4 years younger than John. Yes.
And maybe the biggest sports fan in the family.
Could be.
I'm always talking about sports when I'm around him.
Big Auburn fan. Where he went to college, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
As well as John.
Yes.
And then Tim and Mary Pat were they were children when you were in high school.
Yeah. Tail end Charlie's, but Tim was a really good athlete.
We're going to talk about Tim as well.
Basketball.
And Mike.
Mike was a golfer.
One of the best golfers Elwood's ever had.
Really a good golfer.
Yeah. Club champion, I don't know, 10, 12 times, something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
So very athletic family, and it all started with Ralph. Tell me about Ralph's father and his family. I know he had some more, and your mother had some athletes in her family as well.
Okay. We'll start out with my mother and her father, who was played football at the University of North Dakota. And he was known as Hurricane Kelly. Aloysius was his name.
Aloysius.
Joe was his son. Joe played football at the University of Wisconsin and then was a pilot in World War II. Didn't play professional, but he did play in the Senior Bowl. So apparently he was pretty good.
Pretty darn good if you're playing in the Senior.
Yeah. There weren't any female athletes on my mother's side, but there were. She had two sisters who were probably very athletic, but there was no outlet for them at the time. My father's father, who was also Ralph Waldo, played baseball. Back then, they lived in a small town, and the small town had their own baseball team made up of citizens, adult and kids both.
A lot of that in Elwood history we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, and Ralph Sr. played catcher on that team. And apparently he had a good arm and could have played for the Cleveland Indians, except it was during the Depression, and he had a really good job, but he just couldn't. So now, how much that is true, I don't know. But that's what I've been told.
Everybody stay tuned for part 2.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Looking forward to part 2 coming. It should be a few weeks, maybe a month. Next time I get to talk to him, and looking forward to parts 2, 3, and beyond. Also, don't forget, coming out later this week, Elwood's history of season openers on the football field. And coming next week, Elwood versus Tipton, the history of the rivalry. Hopefully, I can hit those marks. If not, we'll have them for you pretty soon. Once again, please do me a favor and share and subscribe this video and the channel. And if you have some stories to tell, I would love to hear from you. Please text me 502-533-3161. Text me at that number. I will give you a call back and we can set something up. Again, the number is 502-533-3161. And I want to do hundreds of these podcasts. I want to tell all of the stories of Elwood sports history. Elwood Panther Sports History is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.